Hello, and I really want to welcome you here today at the table. I am joined by some women who I consider to be friends in real life. It's Shona, Melody, and Julie. I'm so excited you ladies are here with me today at the table.
Yeah, we'll hold your hand.
Thank you so much, because I need it. You want to know why? Because I have some good news and I have some bad news. Now, the bad news is that Rachel Humphreys, the person who should have been in this chair right now, Rachel, we miss you. She called in sick, but we want to wish her well and tell her to get well soon. But the good news, not just good news, ladies, but great news, is that the other regular host, Fiona, has just had her baby, a little girl named
Oceana.
Oceana. So we are so excited to welcome a new baby and a new person to our show. And we're going to be talking about some really interesting topics today, not as exciting as babies, but we're going to be talking about the man with no female friends. We're going to meet Tamar Cribs, a mumpreneur whose business is caring, and we're going to be working those glutes, ladies. You know, but first, before we start that, I want to talk about something that happened in Pop Sugar, and it was by Jen Glantz. She wrote and confessed that even though she had agreed to be a babysitter at the age of 13, she realized that it was just way too young to take on that kind of responsibility. Now, I know it's pretty common for 13-year-olds to become babysitters, but I want to know what you ladies think about this. Do you think 13 is too young to be a babysitter?
I think it really all depends on the person, right? Isn't it?
No, it's too young. Too young in this day and age.
Oh, so do you think in the past 13 would have been an okay age, but now it isn't?
I can remember babysitting at 15.
They'd be too busy looking at their phones, wouldn't they, to be worrying about what the kids are doing, a 13-year-old?
So what if you put down some regulations? What if you said, you know, while you're in my house watching my child, you can't use your phone? Would that make
How are
it
you
okay?
going to police that?
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
CCTV.
cams and there's all sorts of little cameras and things you can put around these days.
But if you have to do that, right, doesn't it mean you don't
shouldn't
trust
have
Well,
that
you're a
child.
hovering parent, aren't you?
Well, then it's like you don't trust your babysitter anymore.
You have to know your babysitter, don't you? Surely.
Yeah.
I couldn't just ring up someone from the newspaper and, you know, invite them. I could never do that.
Melody, didn't you have a list you were going to show?
I was just looking at it, and there was a whole checklist about, you know, you need to check what the babysitter can do or cannot do before you hire them. And so it's like how they are with children, why they want to do the job, how they're like in an emergency, what would they do when the kids act up. But yet at the same time, though, if you don't know the babysitter, they can just tell you the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, it'd be like going for a job interview and you can lie your way through it and get to the job and go, oh, don't know what I'm doing.
What about those moms who have, they're single moms, they don't have the option to have this luxury of saying, you know, it has to be this, all of these specifications. You know, what about those mothers who are in those situations? And what if the 13-year-old is pretty responsible, you know?
Do you know what I do with my daughter? I think it was like giving them a little bit of responsibility at a time. I didn't say, OK, now you're 18, you're off to babysit. It depends how much exposure or involvement they've had with children in the past. But the first job my daughter had was as a 15-year-old. She babysat the kids next door. I was home. The kids were in bed. And she just basically sat there. So that was her first little taste when she was 15. And I think you can sort of ease them into it so they get confidence as well.
Another good thing too, ask your friends. If your friends know of girls or boys that are good at doing that or are currently doing it. Yeah.
And I think, well, it depends on what you expect from the babysitter as well. If you're expecting them to cook a meal and put them to bed, then maybe not. If you just have to be there to watch them in case there's a fire so that you can grab the baby out.
Yeah.
13-year-old's fine.
I think it always depends. Every 13-year-old is different. But we can change up the topic a little bit and talk about something, because I want to hear what you ladies have to say about this other article that we read from journalist Joanna Leggett. She wrote in The Guardian a very provocative headline. It said, "Beware of man with no female friends." So, Melody, I want you to give us a little bit of the juice on this one. What is this article all about?
Yeah, that's exactly what. It's an article with a provocative headline. But basically what she's actually trying to say is that people tend to warn her away from getting involved with boyfriends who have a lot of female friends, because then there's a higher chance that they might cheat. Which I'm just thinking, really?
But what was her opinion about it? She was saying people warn her away from it, but what does she think about it?
She likes the fact that she actually had a partner who had a lot of female friends, because, you know, it means that he knew how to relate with women.
Yeah, and had respect for women and understood, you know, the highs and lows of women friends.
So you don't think there's any danger or risk there with, you know,
Look,
a guy
again,
who has
it
a lot
comes
of...
back to the guy. I mean, if the guy's a sleaze, then he can have as many women friends as he wants. It's not going to work in his favour. But yeah, my husband had girls that were friends, and he used to hang out with them, and he's just a bit more compassionate.
Did you ever have a
sometimes.
discussion with him about that and what you were comfortable with?
I
or was it
became
just
friends
unsaid?
with them.
Do you think that
Yeah.
the guys who have all these female friends, do they really just see them as friends? Or I know for
Yes.
some men, they see women as who are friends as just someone they haven't conquered yet. So you do.
Oh,
There are some guys with these. I mean,
that's hard.
it is harsh, but some men think this way. So do you think if you met a man with lots of female friends, does it mean he's compassionate?
But
or
you're
does
going to
it
get to
mean-
know him, aren't you? You're not going to go on the first date and go,
I'd be
oh,
more
wow.
worried about a man who didn't have any male friends. To me, that's a bigger
And
worry.
why is that? Why do you think that's a big
Because I think if they understand each other, and I think the other way would should a man be worried about a girl that doesn't have any female friends?
So let's take a step back and think about from a marriage perspective. What do you think it means if a man or a husband or wife, should they have friends of the opposite sex? And does that help them guard their marriage, or is that important at all?
Just in researching this topic, right, I actually had a bit of a look at what is the main reason that causes people to stray, right, infidelity. And a lot of it has to do with isolation. So they've basically grown apart from their partners, and they don't feel like they have the support from their partners. They don't have the communication with their partners. Whether you have friends or not, that has got nothing to do
No.
with how many friends you have.
But and I found with us, our friends are.
Does that make
both.
you vulnerable though? Like if you're isolated and you also
it
don't
does.
have
Yeah.
It's going to make both of you isolated, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, what does it mean by friends? Like, how close is the friendship?
You know, these are
like, where are the boundaries?
These
I
are
think
some
that's
really
the
kind of
discussion.
tough issues that we have to think about, especially when it comes to our marriage, which is something that's really important. But I think I want to talk a little bit now about some. We want to move over, from these brain exercises and talk a little bit more about our physical body. So we're going to lace up our shoes and see what our personal trainer Alisha has to tell us about ladies working out those glutes.
Oh, boy.
Hi, it's Alisha, the Table's resident personal trainer here with you. We're going to talk about an interesting topic today, ladies, and show you a few things about why it's important to work out the glutes. So, first of all, who knows where they are? Butt. The butt, that's right. Or
Not the arm.
not the arm, correct. So have you seen the big phenomenon with, all the big butt ladies? Is that, do you think...
big butts, and I get enough of that. Yeah, no.
Do you think that that's what it's all about? I don't know. What have you heard?
Looking butt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
Definitely doesn't hurt.
And it makes pants, look
nice,
good.
for sure.
Yeah, fit well.
So there's definitely some aesthetic reasons why you might want to work out the butt, but there's actually some more intrinsic reasons, such as working out the glutes is really connected to our posture, it's connected to our core muscles. It actually can help prevent injury and pain when we've actually got stronger glute muscles. So even though, there's a big, phase of working out the butt to have a big, nice booty.
The Kardashian butt.
That's the one.
People actually inject it.
I think that there's actually a legitimate reason to do it, but it's more actually just about living a better, more functional life and feeling like you can, run, walk, move more functionally.
So what movements are you doing in normal day-to-day life that use your butt?
Yeah, a lot of things, because if you're bending over to pick stuff up, your legs walking clearly is related, it's all connected there. And then it is also connected to your lower back. So if you've got lower back problems, working out the glutes can actually help relieve that as well. So there's heaps of reasons. So I just wanted to show you really quickly a few things that you can do at home. Now, you can do it with or without a piece of equipment, but I wanted to share just a little one that I like, and these are called resistance bands, or these little ones that are sort of small and rounded are called booty bands.
Booty band.
So
How appropriate.
how appropriate, right?
Where do we get these from?
Yeah, you can get them at just your general sports store. Sometimes even your bigger department stores like Kmart and stuff have them as well. So they're actually really affordable and cheap. And I just want to show you a couple of really easy moves that are very effective. You don't have to jump up and down to work the butt.
Hallelujah.
I knew you'd be happy about that, Tony. So Rach, you're going to be my guinea pig today. If you want to come down.
No, the butt straw.
So we'll just put this around your ankles.
Does it matter what color you have, or?
Okay, great question, Rach. So the colours are different levels of resistance. So this is the easier one, this is the harder one, and they kind of range from,
Give her the hard one. Give her the hard one. What are you doing?
Says the lady.
See, my mate's here.
All right, so once you've got it on your ankles, you can just clip it around one heel. You're going to use the other foot as sort of an anchor, and then you're going to kick that heel up towards the ceiling. And this is called the donkey kick. And if you repeat that and kind of control it on the way down.
No control here.
Control.
That's right. Good. It's really going to target specifically the glutes. Now, you can do it without the band and still, you might want to just do 20 more reps of it. But
Oh no, my leg's shaking.
you're going to get an awesome workout with the band. It's just going to add that resistance that you would get with a machine at the gym, but you're able to do it at home. So that's pretty
you
cool.
need to do before you...
She's got to do
I'm not
20.
counting.
She's got to do 20. I'll
Depending
count
on
one.
it.
It's got to be 20.
Start at one.
Depending on how strong you are, how fit you are, I think the more reps the better because it's a small move. It's not super heavy, but yeah, so you want to get it so that you get that burn. Yeah. So there you go. There's one really good move that you can do at home, and there's plenty more. So even the bands, when you buy them, have exercises in them. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you've gotten something out of it, and make sure you work out that butt, not just to have a nice one, but also so you can function as well. All right, cool. See you next time.
Who else got that I like big butts? I can't. Hey, Shona,
Some of us do have big butts.
Comes naturally. Can't help
Shona,
it.
did you buy your booty band?
No. I'm not into donkey kicks.
Okay, well, now back to some serious topics. You know, you've probably heard someone say it, and you may have even said it yourself. The marriage is in trouble, and separation and divorce is seriously being considered. But the decision is being made to try and hold it together for the sake of the children. So, Julie, what do you think? Do you think that's a good enough reason to hold something together for the sake of the children?
It's such a hard question, isn't it? It would be interesting to ask the adult children of people that have been through that. But every marriage is different. Every situation is different. You know, far be it for me to say who should and shouldn't. But yeah, I think you've just got to look at every situation and think what's right in your particular situation and go for every bit of help you can. But I think you've got to put the needs of the children first. And that could go either way, maybe. As mums, isn't that what we're doing all the time, putting the needs? And that may mean that you separate, that may mean that you stay together.
You know, it's very hard because as an adult child of parents who've divorced, I was just telling my mom recently that I'm glad that they stayed together throughout my childhood because I think I would have had a very, very different childhood. You know, what is that importance that you see for that family unit that we have? You know, maybe in your life, Melody, what importance do you see around that family unit in raising Elliot?
Well, I think I like the fact that, you know, you can see that there's love between the parents, because when Daniel and I like hug in front of Elliot, he starts giggling, and then sometimes now he's gotten to the point where he joins in and stuff like that. But actually, I am actually curious as well, because, you know, reading with this, they're saying, psychologists are saying that, you know, kids can actually feel the vibe. And so I'm just wondering, how did you feel anything that was going on with the parents or anything like that?
I didn't sense it. My parents didn't fight in front of us, but I think, you know, later having conversations with my mom, and, you know, both of my parents, I could sense very much that I grew up in a very strong Christian home, so I could sense very much that both of my parents had their own individual relationships with God, and for me, having that family unit that really enforced those beliefs was important to me. But I can understand, as you were saying, I heard you nodding in agreement, that, you know, that vibe that's in the household, if parents are at odds all the time, it can't be very healthy either.
No, I'm torn with this, because as a Christian, we're told you stay together, and, you know, this is a sacred covenant with God, and yet I too wonder how kids fear when the parents are fighting, and just this disharmony that's in the family if they stay together.
Obviously, there's no argument if there's violence or domestic
go.
abuse. I don't think we would argue with that.
Obviously.
Yeah, but at what point do we, you know, make that decision? It's very individual.
Isn't mental
I think
abuse?
I think it's a very tough topic, you know, especially when there are things that are impacting our children. But right now it's time to get busy in the kitchen with Gia and Olive, because they're whipping up a delicious cake, but it has no flour. I'm really curious to see this.
Guess who we've got on the show again? Who is
guys.
it? Who is it, Olive?
Shona.
Shona. Call her Grandma Shona.
Oh, no, don't do that. Not yet.
We just got to get her used to it. So we are actually making a flourless mug cake. So it's going to be put in a mug and in the microwave. This is a 3-minute cake.
It's flourless, but it does have chocolate in it.
It does. It's got chocolate. But this is only 4 ingredients, and it comes from the website Big Man's World or something like that. The guy is a genius. You will not believe it when we make this, okay? So let's start.
I was blown away.
All right, so it's we're gonna make double the recipe. So usually it's 1 banana, so just mash it in there. Oh, yes, Olive Litzer just went for what she likes best.
The chocolate.
Yeah, so squash it. It has to be very ripe, the banana. This isn't super ripe, but it's ripe enough, I reckon. Throw it in there. So 1 banana, but we're putting 2 bananas because we're making double the recipe.
Because I want some.
Yeah, I want some
have to
too.
try it because it's flourless.
We actually made this morning, like as we were setting up for the show, and all of us were like, how on earth did it turn out like a cake when it all it has is banana and peanut butter in it? We're using peanut butter, so it's a tablespoon of peanut butter, but you can use almond butter as well. So if you prefer almond butter, that's fine. That's cacao, isn't it?
Yep.
So 1 tablespoon of cacao. We're using 2 because we're making 2. And that's it. And now you're going to blend it. If you don't have a high-speed blender, you're going to have to stop the blender and push it down with a spatula and keep blending it until it's smooth. So that's the whole...
Is it on?
Okay, it's on.
What about those?
Do you want
I
to put
think
those?
we might need those.
We'll put those in the end.
Oh,
So
will
you
we?
just, yeah,
Okay.
we'll mix it through because you need some
Can't
chocolate.
forget the chocolate.
No, because that's like the best part, isn't it? Hold it there, yeah.
I love chocolate chip.
You too. And what are you eating?
I reckon that's done.
No, it's not.
No?
No way. Keep going. Scrape the sides down. Keep going. Is it good?
Really good.
You reckon it's good? It's good. All right.
Really good, okay?
Okay, I'll take that. Oh, can you look at that?
Do you know what I
Oh.
did? Do you know? Remember what you used to do as a kid? Rita?
Yeah, what did you used to
You
do
don't
as a
have
kid?
beaters anymore,
Let's
so
see.
you
Let's
wanna
see if
whip
she
that?
picks up on it. Oh,
Oh, yes.
There
That's
you
what
go.
grandmas do.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nana.
Okay, so we're gonna just pour some into.
Pour it?
Yeah, pour it in.
All right.
Let's see if I can put that.
No, that's not going to.
That's not gonna work. It's quite thick. So, look at that.
Good though. Looks
It
like
does.
chocolate mousse.
It does. Seriously, you can eat it like this. Adam said, my husband said that it tastes like chocolate yogo. So
Chocolate yoga.
Have you? Did you used to ever have that?
Yes.
That's like the full 80s thing, isn't it? I remember in the 80s, like friends at school, because I was Greek background, but I used to go to school and all the kids would have like a yogo and the snacks, and I was the kid with like the Greek sandwich and the
feta and the olives.
yeah, like the full Greek styles, like my fat Greek wedding styles, one of those ones. All I wanted was
sprinkle on
fairy
there.
floss.
Sprinkle it
No,
on
not
there.
fairy floss, fairy bread.
Fairy bread.
Fairy
Yeah,
bread.
yeah, bread with
100, yeah, hundreds and thousands.
Oh, look, be generous.
Oh,
Be
no,
generous.
don't put too much in there. Okay, use dairy-free, healthy choc chips, okay? The healthy dark chocolate. But we've got dairy-free here, but you know what, Shona, let's do the real deal for you. I know you like it. Don't put too many choc chips. I don't think it needs that many. So can you see we've put some choc chips, mix it through, and we are gonna put this in the microwave for 1 minute. So let's go, Shona.
1 minute.
This is the microwave you sold me. Actually, I'm gonna put it in for 1 minute and 20. I know it says 1 minute, but you know, I don't know, it takes a while. Look at me, I've just ruined the microwave. Oh! I can't, seriously, I can't. This recipe is genius. I just can't believe it. Okay, watch out, because it's really hot. This is so hot. Look, 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 look. Look at this.
It looks like a cake.
Look at this.
Oh, I can just see some ice
How?
cream and
Can you
some
tell me
cream.
how this is even possible?
Doesn't that look fabulous?
Yeah, it's magic.
It's magic. You know what?
There
You
was
guys
no
have
flour,
to.
And now it's a cake.
I know. There was no flour in this, so it's gluten-free, dairy-free. Look at that.
Try this. It's hot.
Is that awesome? You should definitely follow us for more recipes on the Table TV show on Facebook or thetabletv.com on our website.
This is banana-y, chocolatey,
I seriously can't understand how this. Whoever designed this, the guy that has
Amazing.
the big
On your
man's
iPad
website
or
is genius.
on your
Genius.
phone or on your TV.
What?
That was definitely magic. Thanks, Gia and Olive. Now, if you'd like to learn to prepare healthy plant-based meals, but you have no idea where to start, today's recipe book giveaway is perfect for you. This is it. It's called Everyday Essentials. It's nothing too fancy. You're just starting with the basics here, and you're going to be able to create new, healthy family favorites. If you'd like to get your copy, all you have to do is send us your details via email with your name, your postal address, and the name of the recipe book, Everyday Essentials, to hello@thetabletv.com. Or if you'd rather call, the number is 1-300-300-389 in Australia or 0800-694-673 in New Zealand. But now, I would love to welcome to the studio aged care service founder and mompreneur, Tamar Cribs. How do you like being referred to? Do you like this reference of being called a mompreneur, or?
I think it's fantastic. I think it describes the fact that I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO and a founder of a company, so it's great.
We're going to dive deep into your story, but just because we're all moms here, how many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
4 kids, awesome. Well, you know, today we want to talk a little bit about the service-based aged care business that you have and a little bit about how it started. And one place I'd love to start is how you grew up, because you grew up surrounded by your great-grandfather, and you were able to see what that looked like, what that family dynamic looked like. Can you go into a little bit of detail and tell us about that growing up experience and seeing how your grandfather lived with your family and what the end of his life looked like?
For sure. So I grew up with my great-grandfather. We lived in New York. We lived in the basement. My parents were students at the time. And my grandfather lived upstairs. And we had a really special relationship. And unfortunately, throughout his life, he became quite ill. But he had the most beautiful end-of-life journey surrounded by his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. Later in life, when I became a registered nurse and started running aged care facilities, I thought everybody has beautiful end-of-life journeys. And unfortunately, I realized that that wasn't the case. And so I decided to do something very different.
What got you into the dementia side of it? Because we all go, dementia's an old age thing. It's something that you're going to get when you get older. But you were saying earlier, that's not necessarily right.
So dementia is not a normal part of aging. And aged care is a sort of the part of the industry. Dementia specifically is not the exciting part. I specifically love working with people with dementia because you're learning and you're curious about them living with the disease as opposed to suffering with the disease, which is a really important distinction.
Can you tell us how your facilities are different from what we have in Australia?
So the name of the homes are called Group Homes Australia, and they have a very small amount of people, between 6 to 8 people living in a regular home in your regular suburb. They look, feel, and smell like homes. And no matter the level of dementia, people get involved in cooking, baking, shopping, gardening, everything that we do in a normal day, but it's not a lock-up institution. What we see is sort of the trend in Australia at the moment.
Well, I'm really curious if we can just take one step back for our viewers and for us as well. Can you just help us understand what dementia is?
Dementia is an umbrella term that describes a whole group of diseases. So Alzheimer's is probably the most popular disease of dementia. We know that there's a vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia. It's very important to know it's not a normal part of aging, but it is the #1 killer for women in Australia today.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my father-in-law is actually suffering from dementia, and so my mother-in-law is the primary carer now. How is that? Like, I'm just seeing how she does it, and it requires a lot of work, a lot of care. How is that offered in Group Homes Australia? Because she's debating whether do I put him into care? Do I care for him myself?
What we find, and it's a great question, because what we find with families is they really mourn the loss of what the person can no longer do. And what we do at Group Homes Australia is really focusing on what the person can do. So obviously they can't cook a full meal, but can they crack an egg? Can they chop? Can they peel? They can't take care of the full garden.
So that's something that's happening in your facility. They're able to still participate in those activities.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And there's someone there to help them do the things that they can't do in that.
So we have staff called homemakers that do everything with the residents and not for the residents. So sort of a use it or lose it. If they don't use the capacity, they lose the capacity to do these things.
So how many people do you have in these group homes?
Anywhere between 6 to 8 people living in each home. So
Okay.
it's a household model. I have 6 people living in my home.
And they're not signposted out the front? You would drive past and not realise that it's a care facility?
You would never know. You drive past and it looks exactly exactly like any of the neighboring homes. When you walk in, there's a smell of baking, not your sort of smell of institutions.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
You know, Tamar, I know that you grew up in Israel, and you are a person of faith, and I wonder if that drives any of your decisions or any of your ideas around end of life and the dignity that people should have when they're at that moment in their lives.
Absolutely. So I think my faith guides me in everything around inclusion, including people in conversations, including people in having that discussion and having choice around how you want to go through your end of life. And I'm not talking about euthanasia, because people tend to
take it all the way there.
Take it all the way there.
Thank you for expanding on that, because I'm sitting here going, end of life? Doesn't that mean a needle?
No, so it doesn't. It means about having, you know, we plan for birth, we plan to go to university, we plan to get married, we plan to have children. Everything is planned. But when it comes to death, we sort of assume, oh, don't talk
it's a
about
taboo
it.
topic.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's actually a topic that we should talk about. Do we want our family there? Do we want to happen at home? Should it happen in a hospital? What are the type of things that are meaningful and purposeful to us at the end? And that's different to each person.
So do you have these kind of conversations with your residents about what end of life might look like for them?
Many times the conversation isn't necessarily with the person themselves, because they have dementia, and at that point they don't have the capacity to have that conversation. But we sit around with the children or with the partners and definitely start discussing what was meaningful for the person, how would they like to have their end of life, and really guide them through that process so that you can celebrate their end of life and really give the family what I would call an unconditional gift.
Do you find it a very tearful discussion? Because I'm just thinking about it and having to discuss it about, like, you know, say with my father-in-law, and I'm like, I want to cry just thinking about it. Like, how do you go about that kind of discussion?
Crying is a real emotion. It's not something that we have to necessarily not do. And you know, having a baby, we cry for happiness. And, you know, when we do things, there's certain normal parts and normal phases of life. And it's a real valid emotion to be sad. And, you know, it's scary for the person going through it, so why not validate that and open the discussion and say, you know what, I'm really uncomfortable having this conversation. I'm going to miss you, but I want to make sure that you have dignity. And if that's the goal, let's all get on board and have that discussion.
I think it's great as well, because you're taking away the fear of end of life, and I think as humans we just have this natural fear about the end of our lives, and it seems as though you're bringing dignity, you're bringing respect,
And celebrating that person.
the end of. Yeah.
Absolutely, and especially for somebody living with dementia, and I always say living, not suffering with dementia, it's about teaching them and the family how to live through that disease. And yes, it is a terminal disease and it's a sad disease, but it's about the life, and it's about celebrating and helping someone flourish as their world diminishes. How do we do that?
There's one story in particular I think that would be great for us to tell our viewers as we're ending the show about this couple who the wife was able to be with her husband in those final moments of his life. Can you share that with us quickly?
Sure. So the couple came to us, and he was dying, and they had been married for 67 years. And every aged care facility that they went to wanted to separate them because they had different care needs. And because at Group Homes Australia, we don't define people by their care needs, we wanted to celebrate that they were going through their end-of-life journey. And the morning that he passed, you know, they were lying on the bed together, and she was holding him, and she put her head on his chest, and she said, "Take me with you."
I love this story, and I'm so happy that you're able to be here with us, and you've given us something different to think about and a different perspective to think around end of life. So now, as we're thinking about this, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today at the table. It's always great to have your company, and don't forget that you can share our video with your friends on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And of course, we love hearing what you have to say, so get to commenting, because there's always room for you here at the table. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, for sharing your opinions. We really missed Rachel Humphreys. And Tamar, I really want to thank you so much for being here as well. You've definitely shifted my thinking and had me think about some different things as it comes to end of life. So thank you so much for being here with us today, and we welcome you to join us next time here with us at the table.